So Biden's like, well, you can still travel. Yeah, who can travel? Who's got the money to travel to get an abortion, right?
Yeah, and is there going to be federal funding to travel? No. And part of the reason that there's not going to be is because of the Hyde Amendment.
Exactly. And, Kate's bringing up a very good point. Overturn the Hyde Amendment. At least try to do that. There are other suggestions from Representative Ayanna Pressley, who's saying declare a public health emergency over abortion rights. Clinics are being shut down right now. People are being turned away right now. She says we must act urgently as if lives depend on it, because they do. This was her and I believe a caucus of Black women in Congress writing, President Biden must recognize this as a public health emergency and commit to utilizing every executive authority necessary to protect abortion access, including expanding access to medication, abortion, and over-the-counter birth control, and protect the safety of those seeking and providing abortion care. So that's, for example, like, we got tests after a lot of hand-wringing, but we got COVID tests. You could get them sent to your house.
Yeah.
Why not have plan B or plan C get sent to your house?
Yeah. And you know what, you may have this on your list already, but Elizabeth Warren and others have brought up the idea of, there's federal lands in red states. You could have abortion clinics there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think AOC echoed Warren's suggestion and also said, restrain judicial review, expand the court, clinics on federal lands, expand access to education, expand education access to Plan C, repeal Hyde, hold floor votes codifying Griswold, Obergefell, Lawrence, Loving, etc. Again, gay rights, right to contraception. Gay marriage, right to contraception. The bill, interracial marriage, sodomy laws, making sure those don't get overturned. Vote on Escobar's bill protecting clinics. I don't know about that bill, but look, there's a bill. There's a lot of stuff that can be done. But no.
Yeah, there's there's the Democratic Party who really, I don't think, cares if they win or lose. It's, this is like they seem fine being the opposition party, in a way that seems like what they most enjoy. And then, there's like all of their defenders, in media, who will kind of push this whole narrative of like, they can't do anything. If we could just get rid of like this pesky left that is trying to convince you that they could actually do this, and the Bernie Bros and the people who are shitting on our only chance to stop fascism and stuff like that. But like the actual experience of people like me, you, a ton of other people with uteruses all throughout the country, is that like we can look at this situation with our own eyes and see that they're not even trying, and you can't take people's you can't make people like discredit their own lion eyes or whatever. So, it's like, I think that if a person like I do believes that like actually, the GOP is trying to end democracy and fascism is a real threat now, it's actually unconscionable that they're not taking more action right now, not only for people who need abortions, but to like, keep like Trump out of office in 2024 and prevent this like sweep that's going to happen in November probably.
We just saw a whole crowd cheer white life, whether on by mistake or not. They probably loved it. In the face of that, you've got Pelosi reading poems. And so I think you're absolutely right about this, which is, and I think that actually some centrists and, more liberals who maybe didn't like Bernie, hopefully, are starting to see that like the emperor has no clothes on the Democratic side either. That they don't know what they're doing. They haven't had a plan. They've totally failed us. And this is such a crown jewel in what Democrats have lauded for so long, that they believe in it, that they and our glorious RBG, who should have fucking retired, like there's all these holes in that bullshit narrative of how safe and wonderful it is in, as a moderate Democrat, but moderate Democrats can't fight fascism.
They literally, no, they absolutely can't. I mean, I think there's a lot of truth to that, like socialism or or barbarism quote, you know, like as, you know, as things get more extreme for everybody, you know, just stuff gets more extremely bad, like by necessity, the people who want incremental solutions, that's going to become a lesser number, you know, every day. Like, you know, if the world is incredibly shitty, like not a lot of people are going to want it to stay the same, you know? So
Yeah.
people are getting radicalized, and it's in one direction or another, you know? And this, like, this idea that like a lot of, you know, centrists have, that if they can just tell people that it's really important to vote for, you know, to vote against Trump. Okay, I personally will do that, but you know, like the amount of people that will do that, that's going down, because in a way, I mean, it's like, just like I wouldn't vote for somebody who was anti-abortion, like I would not cast my vote. Like people in general do not want to vote for somebody that, you know, whose policies are going to kill them, and this, like, you
Yes.
know, this neoliberal Frankenstein that the, you know, Biden administration is like, you know, I mean, there's just more people struggling than ever with like inflation, homelessness, gas prices. I mean, people are just not going to do it, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that, and it's such a cynical, like, patronizing response to say, well, kind of, it's on you. It's on you, poor people, for not reinvesting in a system that's never invested in you or given you what you've asked for. It's on you, young people, who are constantly blamed for low turnout, even though there's been no reason for them to come out and vote. Now, personally, and on this show, and I think people know, I'm absolutely, you know, I think voting is an offensive mechanism 9 times out of 10. And you're lucky if, I mean, I feel even in my lifetime, just seeing someone like Sanders run at the presidency is amazing. And to be able to vote in the primaries, my hopes, has been amazing. But like, I reject sort of the like some leftists who are like, you just want us to vote Democrat. I want you to vote strategically against fascism, yes, but in
Yeah.
my mind, the strategy against fascism is to vote for progressives and leftists. But that being said, in our two-party winner-take-all bullshit system, yeah, you're gonna have to vote for a fucking, you know, oh, I can't even say Buttigieg, but you know what I mean? Like that's where we're at. So it's like,
The
I kind
left's playing for capital. You're gonna have to vote for, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it's true that like you know, you see these young people in the streets and you're like, yo, you can't blame them if they're not seeing anything. It's just going to depress turnout. And what does that mean? It doesn't mean someone's consciously not going to vote. It's that they're just not going to consciously vote. They're going to let that ballot sort of slide. They're going to not make time to go out of their way. They're going to not research candidates. They're not going to fucking make the effort because of course.
Yeah, I think that, you know, I mean, the way that this stuff gets talked about online is like, you know, there's that everybody who doesn't vote is like an extremely engaged Bernie Sanders voter. That's not who doesn't vote. Like, I mean, most of the people who are extremely engaged with politics do vote. Like, you know, it's, I
Right.
mean, like the people who are paying attention to this shit as, you know, a hobby essentially, or compulsion, most of those people vote. Like, you know, the people who do not vote, you know, are like basically, you know, just like, fuck it, it doesn't matter to me. My life is staying bad no matter what, and are not engaged because they've completely lost hope, or because the last time they voted, you know, remember the $2,000 checks? Vote for Ossoff and Warnock, you're going to get a $2,000 check. Do you think that people forget that you promised them a $2,000 check and then didn't deliver on it? Because $2,000 is something that really mattered to a lot of people at that time, especially, you know, and people do not forget that the last time they voted, it's the thing that they were promised to make their life better didn't occur.
Right. But if you added it with the 600, it was 2,000.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like,
no,
like centrists,
awful.
like both, yeah, media people and, you know, just reply guys or whatever, They think if they can come up with the most smarty pants explanation for why Biden can't do anything, or why it actually counted as $2,000, or, you know, why RBG should have stayed in office. And it's like, there's just an increasing number of people who do not give a fuck about your smarty pants explanation because they're suffering.
We think the majority of people are on Twitter. No, they're not. They're not having these debates, and you're absolutely right to call that out, that like enthusiastic Bernie supporters aren't the people who abstain. The people who abstain are overworked and haven't seen anything materially changed in their lives. Also, you don't get election day off, so maybe we work on that if we care about voting at all.
Or voting rights.
It's so cynical.
I mean, there was the John Lewis Voting Rights Act that restored, you know, many of the protections that were taken away, you know, have been taken away by the Supreme Court. State courts rolled back since the 1965 Voting Rights Act. And that would have been, you know, that would have re-enfranchised, I don't know the exact number, but let's say a fuck ton of people. And they didn't pass it. And nor was there any real political pressure on, you know, rotating villain Joe Manchin to do it, you know? And it's like, I mean,
you got to eat your vegetables with what spoon or fork? I don't have any tools with which to eat these vegetables. You fucking
That's a perfect analogy. Yeah.
You just like, it's so ridiculous. You're so right on that. It's just like, and we can't just shout that back. You can't even protect voting rights. You fucks who tell us to just vote harder. I want to end by saying I do believe in voting harder. I believe in voting harder against do-nothing Democrats. I believe in holding their feet to the fire. Individual candidates who you believe in, you like, absolutely. And I also want to direct people before we leave this segment to abortionfunds.org, to wewon'tgoback.com, which is where you can go to actually see where you can take the streets. Abortion Funds is where you can directly support clinics that are still operating. And then Liz Winstead's been on this show, but Abortion Action Front is doing a massive training on July 17th. It's like a virtual training. So basically get together with friends, do it through Zoom, however you want to do it. But you get trained up on all kinds of ways that you can directly make a long haul plan to get active. And that is being an escort at clinics. That could be making phone calls on the weekly, daily, whatever it is, to different legislators. There's so many ways, you know, I know there's some efforts even to like, I was looking into this, like, cause I was like, how do you get people to the places where there are abortions? And like, I've got miles, like I want to help someone out who like, you know, could just use those miles, get on a plane. And so they've seen those efforts starting up. So there's a lot that's being done. We can't be too hopeless, even though we can be mad as hell.
Yeah, I think it's good to remember that there's been a lot of really great people working on this for a long time. And, you know, it's like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that care about this issue, and like Liz and like the people at abortion funds, you know, have been figuring out how to get people across state lines, pay for their hotel rooms, and like, you know, honestly, like even if you don't have the time or energy to do like ongoing activism, which is great if you do, but you know, just even fucking throwing a few $100 to, you know, these abortion funds, particularly if you can do it every so often or whatever, but anything helps. Like this all directly goes. That's the cool thing about abortion funds, is the money like directly goes to getting people abortions.
What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/bitchuationroom. Do it.